Millennials, Gen Zs, don't feel bad, don't feel sad, don't feel upset. You are not to blame for the lack of economic opportunities at the present time. You are not to blame for the lack of upward mobility. You are not to blame for these things. On a broader level, what is to blame is the system of white supremacy that dominates all areas of people activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, as given to us by the Honorable Elder Neely Fuller Jr. You are not to blame, Millennials and Gen Z, and I'm particularly talking to the black ones, for believing in this idea that was probably given to you by your elders of just go to school and get an education and things will work out fine for you. You're not to blame that now that you have got this piece of paper, this education, and accumulated this debt because your parents didn't leave nothing for you or set nothing up for you, that you cannot use that to find gainful careers and employment, that you are often belittled in the unemployment market with your degree, that is not respected, that when you submit your resume and your cover letter, you are being presented with opportunities and jobs that didn't even require for you to have that degree. You are not to blame. On a broader level, the system of white supremacy is to blame that dominates and controls the whole world. But on a more direct level, your black baby boomers and the old Negroes that give a blind allegiance to the Democratic Party are to blame. They are to blame for the fact that we Millennials and Generation Zs, foundational black Americans, find ourselves in this situation of desperation and the lack of opportunities and upward mobility. And they continually want us to support and back the party, the political party that has done the most to detrimental our progress. And that's, the Democratic Party, who has caused this influx of immigrants, hostile immigrants who are coming in this country illegally by the thousands, who the party that are allowing our tax dollars to go and fund these individuals, to give these individuals an economic head start, while black Americans are homeless by the thousands in the streets and struggling and living from check to check and on all type of government assistance. These immigrants who come from countries that have been hostile to the United States of America are allowed to come into this country and with our taxpayer dollars get all these benefits. You know, I hear some of them are getting $9,000. $9,000 upon arriving here. They get $9,000 upon arriving on this land. They're given places to stay, cars, and job training. That we to job training to replace us. To replace us. That's what they're giving. Job training to replace us. And let me say this. 1 second, you guys. Let me solve this situation right now. Job training to replace us. And it's one party to blame for this. And that same job training that they're giving to replace us, they then go and get opportunities, and then they block us out from these opportunities with the taxpayer dollars that they were afforded to be here. Right? So it's only one party to blame. Don't blame yourself. Blame your elders. Blame your elders directly. The baby boomers. The black baby boomers, because they did nothing and set nothing up for us. They left us with no industries to enter. They left us with no industries, nothing that we can go in and take leadership roles. The other groups have done this, right? That's why I'm not pointing out the other baby boomers from other backgrounds. The Asians, the Chinese Americans, the Jews, the Italian, whatever, the other immigrant background. They all left something for their future generations to go into and take control of. The black baby boomers were so much into their own thing that they had going on at the time, into their own success, were thinking selfishly, not thinking what I'm going to leave for the future generations, because they thought, oh, well, I'm opening up these doors for them to go get education, right? But once you get that education, Millennial Foundation Black American, Gen Z Foundation Black American, you have to take that education and go and beg these other hostile groups that are in charge of these corporations for job opportunities, hoping that they'll be willing to let you in. But what they're going to do is they always going to look out for their own self-interest before anyone else. And that's only right. That is only right for them to look out for their own groups before you. So the black baby boomers thought, well, we're marching for civil rights. We're marching for all this so that they can have a right to vote, a right to education. But they didn't think about that the mindset of this country has not changed. That the mindset of racism, prejudice, the mindset of each group only looking out for their own group will not change in the future just because we're being allowed to have education and go to these universities. You know, and they gave their blind allegiance, and they still do, to this Democrat plantation that has done nothing and is continuously undermining us every second of every day, are continually undermining us. They're not talking about anything tangible that they want to give to us. They're talking about, let's do this minority thing that we see has not and will not ever work, because it will trickle down to us, nothing left until it gets to us. And by that time it gets to us, there's nothing left, because the other groups then already took everything. But this party that won't do nothing specifically for us in the form of tangibles and reparations, they want us to blindly, continually to give our support to this party, and we are saying no. We're saying no. I'll end the video with this. I drive Uber, right? I do what I have to do, right? So that's what needs to be understood. I do what I have to do to make sure that the people that I'm responsible for are taken care of. I'm not going to sit back on my ass on a couch and say, woe is me, and complain and not do anything. Even though I have education and I'm very intelligent and very well read and very knowledgeable about a lot of things and well traveled, and I know with those skills and attributes I should be doing something else. But what can you do if you're putting your foot out there, your best foot forward, and you're trying, and you keep getting rejected, and you keep getting rejected left and right, you keep getting rejected. You can't sit back and cry. You just got to keep moving. And that's what that's you know, and oftentimes to keep moving, you got to humble yourself. Even though you know you may be overqualified for whatever you're doing, you know, at the end of the day, we got to take care of ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it. Especially if you got people that dependent on you, you're going to have to do what you got to do, you know. And that's just to, you know, tuck in that pride for a minute, humble yourself, get rid of that ego, and hey, if it requires sweeping floors, and you may have a master's degree, a doctor's degree, a bachelor's degree, 2 or 3 of them, and you've been trying very diligently to get something that is consumate with your degrees or your education, but you find that you're not getting these opportunities, well, you're going to do what you got to do. If you're not a woe is me type of person, you're going to be like, okay, let me swallow my pride and do what I got to do. Long story short. So I'm driving a passenger, and it irritates me, because what irritates me is when I get in this car, I'm already, like I said, I've humbled myself. I may feel frustrated. You know, that frustration may not go away, because you always think about when you're dealing with the traffic jams, when you're dealing with unruly customers, when you're dealing with all the BS, you might be like, damn, why? You know, why do I have to do this shit? And it may cause you to be frustrated, but nonetheless, you have to just suck it up and know why you're doing what you're doing. And so I do that. But sometimes individuals, they get in this car and they ask me stupid ass questions. And I really just don't want, I'm not, listen, I know another part of success too is your network. Your network is your net worth. So if you make some connections, you could, if you make the right connections and you meet the right people and you're open to it, then there's a possibility that that connection or that network that you just created could catapult you into other opportunities. So I keep an open mind in regards to that. But 99.9% of these individuals, when they get in this car, in this back seat, the conversation is superficial, stupid, and annoying oftentimes. And it's at times like those that I just really wish they would just shut up and let me drive. I'm already frustrated I have to do this, knowing that I should be doing much more. So the least they can do is just shut up and let me drive. Get you from point A to point B in a safe and efficient manner. Don't ask me these stupid questions. Oh, how long you been driving? Why does it matter? For some, and I know this, they feel uncomfortable with the silence and they got to do some small talk. But why does it matter? Don't worry about that. I don't like those questions. Oh, do you like it? That's the one that really gets to me. That's the one that really gets to me. Do you like driving? Do you like this chaos that you got to deal with every day? That gets to me. And the other one, Bessie? But every once in a while, every blue moon, you'll get someone that doesn't hit you with those stupid superficial questions and actually, are not just talking to talk because they feel uncomfortable in silence or talking to be condescending. You get every once in a while, every blue moon, you'll get someone that will offer you an interesting conversation and someone that you can possibly make a connection with. So, on this particular day, I picked up 2 older white women. And at first they started off with those stupid questions. But this is the thing about me. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything or lie to myself to make you feel comfortable. So when you ask me a particular question, how you doing? I may give you a true answer. If you ask me a particular question, do you like driving? How long you been doing it? I may give you a true answer, not this superficial answer that I know you want to hear. Oh, I'm God. Oh, I love it. But no, I may say, no, this shit sucks. And if I say that and it leads into a different conversation, because sometimes that's what happens, or it just leads to silence because they weren't expecting me to be real, then, it is what it is. But sometimes on this particular day, it led to a conversation with these 2 elderly white women. I think they had to be in their 60s, and one probably was in her 80s or 90s. And the conversation started off about race relations, and she asked me, maybe it'd get better. And what, when I was talking about, she asked like something like, well, what do you think will make it better? How would maybe the world would get better one day? Or what do you think will make it better? And I was very honest. I said, it won't get better, for one, until the system of white supremacy is replaced by a system of justice. And she was like, oh. And then I said, you know what? Maybe it also won't get better to the particular troublemakers that caused all this chaos are no longer here. And that led to a deep conversation. But at the end, towards the drop off, when I'm dropping her off, and the conversation was so interesting and so deep that they both still sat in the car listening to me as I school them and at their destination. So the conversation is a good conversation if they're able to sit in the car and still not rush to get out, even though they reached their destination. So when we started talking about politics, and of course, I marched with Dr. King type of talk, and I have a black friend, and that type of talk that most these liberal Democrats, especially the elder baby boomer ones, hit you with. And when I said, and she started talking about Kamala Harris and the first black, and how, I'm like, okay, here we go. She's trying to pander to me, as the Democrats do, especially the elder ones. They try to pander to black people because black people don't, unfortunately, don't want to be critical thinkers. Not all, but majority. So she started hitting me with that pandering talk, thinking that I was just going to suck it up. And I said, no, Kamala Harris is not a black woman, and she's not really identified as a black woman. She's an East Indian woman, and her black card was only used for political reasons. And she was like, oh. And when I talked about Joe Biden and how he's responsible for the breaking up of the black family with his signing of that 3 strike law or whatever it is, that he's directly responsible for that. She's like, oh, well, that was a long time. I said, well, it doesn't matter. The effects are still being felt today. So when I started hitting her with this, she was like, oh, so what are you going to do? You're going to vote for Trump? And I said, well, if Trump today promised, if he made a speech and he signed it in a legal document promising foundational black Americans reparations, then yes, he would have my vote. But so would Biden if he did the same. So I'm not on this party thing. Basically what I'm telling her, I'm on who is going to offer us tangible benefits specifically for us, not for minorities, but for black Americans, foundational black Americans, who, whatever political group or individual is promising us tangibles, that is who I will vote for. And she just couldn't, it just blew her mind that the possibility that a black person, a black American, would be willing to vote for Trump. It just blew her. It's like she couldn't. Keep in mind, the conversation was going smooth up until that point. Like, even when I was talking about the racial things, she was like, listen, like, oh, I didn't know that, And I was schooling her on how the white race came to be based on a certain theory. She was listening to that too. But when I started talking about not being what she's so used to black people being, especially in her generation, loyal to the Democratic Party, when I said I'm a critical thinker and I'm not just going to give my blind allegiance to this party, it just blew her mind. She couldn't handle it. She literally flipped her top. And I never directly said I was going to vote for Trump. I said I would vote for whoever is working in the best interest of my people. And my people only, not this minority stuff. And whether that's Trump or Biden or whoever else. But the fact that I considered Trump, if he were to promise this and sign it in a legal document, she blew her goddamn mind. She's like, you're going to vote for that guy, that misogynist? He talked about grabbing a woman by her pussy. I can't believe you. Like, she lost it, man. And I'm like, wow. And it just let me know how they feel about us. The white liberals. Because she's a liberal. She's a Democrat. So it just proved how they feel about us and how they feel about our older generation, the baby boomers, and their blind allegiance to this party and how they expect us to be like them. But I let her know, I said, hey, this is a new reckoning. There's a new dawn on the horizon. This is a new generation. And we're not following our elders blindly, voting blue no matter what you do. This is a new generation. And this is why you see the Democrats doing all this pandering to us, you know, showing up eating chicken and, you know, all this, the normal playbook. And they see that we're not biting. And they're worried. They're worried. Because they're like, oh, they're not like their elders. So I ended with that. Don't be upset. Don't blame yourself. Millennials and Gen Zs. Blame the damn black baby boomers. Peace.